Christmas, New Year's, for several years, and even after that, you know. Anyway, so I just thank the guys for the burial and the setup of the service. I want to thank Commander Yellick for hosting, being the MC. One guy that I know by name was Dr. Joe. Paul talked about him a lot. And I mean, I knew he was a pastor, and so anyway. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. It's gonna be hard not to talk to him on Tuesdays like we used to do, but I know he's in a better place, and I'll get to see him again sometime. Thank you.
All groans when they see me walking up here. I'm John Barr, submarine veteran like Paul, member of his happy hour group on Sundays. I think I've mentioned to a couple of you here already. I guess what sticks in my mind is I've never met some good guys. Has anybody ever had anything bad to say? Paul, I'd like to quote that and put it in the obituary. I haven't ever heard it. He's just good to us. I came down here for Memorial Day, and this bunning was up, and I cried because Paul was the one that always put this bunning up. Paul was the one that ran around with that long-handled cobweb thing because there was too many spider webs around here. I never got to his house, and I know he had to be a neat freak. He just was obsessed about the way this place worked. But he was a great volunteer. He was loyal to his company, even when we teased him about making stickers or labels. We are just forever going to miss him. The man is irreplaceable. Say the rest of your words.
There were anyone I shouldn't have forgotten tissues to bring up, and it would have been for Paul. My name is Camille. I know most of you. I'm the director of special events here at the bar. He's always prepared. Sailors are always prepared.
Pocket full.
There you go.
It was going to bother me too.
I wrote something for Paul, and I'm kind of getting tired of doing these ceremonies, and they're becoming a lot more frequent, and that's just the nature of life. But this one was tough. John Barr talked about the happy hour crew, and it was a special time for the duty officers. We all have duty at that time once every 5 weekends, so we were open to the public, and they would come in and give tours the first hour, and the rest of the time they drank beer and argued for the most part. But it was a good time nonetheless, and something that we all look forward to. But there were 2 occasions I was there to spend time with our submarine veteran and volunteer Paul. I have duty every 5 weekends at the submarine. The sub-vets have happy hour every Sunday. They give tours for the first hour or so, and it's sea stories and fellowship until the last one leaves. Paul always left a little earlier than some because that was only to go see his Chili's girls. If you don't know about the Chili's girls, somebody here can answer that for you. I was starting to spend just about every 5th Sunday entertained by Paul's wit and arguing over the TV channel. It wasn't just the TV channel, they argued about everything, but Paul always turned it to sports, even if I had to Google what channel it was for him. I was also starting to spend time with Paul decorating for the holidays. Paul always made sure we were decorated. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and every other holiday or ceremony we dressed the submarine for, that was his thing. Somehow my duty weekend always continued to fall on the same weekends he decorated every single year. The boxes I once dreaded opening and emptying will certainly forever be my fondest and most cherished memories with him. That day that I wrote that would have actually been my 48th Sunday with Paul. Instead, his brother came that day so that we could talk about today. We can't thank him enough for his countless volunteer hours, his true love for our museum and our submarine. Life is short. Love your people with intention, like Paul.
I'm Steve Cobb. I knew Paul in a little bit different way, although I knew him. I knew about the submarine and his love for the submarine and just his excitement about his time in the military. And we were golfing buddies, and we kind of met through a mutual friend. And there was a time or two. Did Paul have another brother, Dale? Yeah. Okay, he came and played with us a few times too. He was a superintendent, as I recall. And anyway, 9/11 happened, and we couldn't just drive on the base to play at the golf course like we had been doing for the longest. And Rick knows this. He played with us sometimes too. In fact, I have two stories about Paul. The first one, and Paul would laugh and he would agree with me. Paul was not a low handicap golfer by any stretch of the imagination. But he had fun. And he and our other friend Larry Palladino, who were a completely different political stripe, would argue all around the golf course about politics, and it was funny. And I was just kind of in the middle listening, and they're back and forth. It was really very entertaining. But we were constantly razzing Paul about how terrible a golfer he was. And I can vividly remember being on the number 10 tee box at the air base, and there was a little muskrat swimming in the pond right in front of where we were going to hit. And I got up and hit, and the muskrat was swimming around, and his friend Larry Palladino got up and hit, and the muskrat was swimming around. Paul gets up to hit, the muskrat goes under the water, and I swear he stayed under until Paul hit, and then he came back up. That really happened. But the point I wanted to make really is, I didn't ever serve in the military. My dad was in the Army, he was in World War II. I have incredible respect for the military and for veterans, and I'm always impressed at how the communication and how veterans seem to connect. And the story I wanted to get to was, we had driven, Paul would meet us somewhere outside the base because he had the tags and the credentials to get us on base after 9/11, and we couldn't get on. Occasionally we'd have to stop and get security checked. But he had a burgundy pickup truck at the time that he was driving a Ford, and we'd all throw our clubs in the back and hop in with him. And so we got to the gate, and right after 9/11, they had a whole lot of people that had been called back into service that weren't with the regular MPs. And Paul reached in his wallet, and he goes, "Oh, I forgot my ID." And the guard looked at him and said, "Well, what are we going to do about that?" And he said, "Well, you tell me." And the guard said, "Well, what branch of the service were you in?" He said, "I was in the Navy." And he said, "Okay, which branch?" And he said, "Well, I was a submariner. I'm on a submarine." And the guard said, "Oh, you were a bubblehead or a squishy." Is that what they say? Squishy or a bubblehead? Bubblehead. And so the guard looked at Paul and he said, "Where's the main base for the submarines?" And Paul said, "Well, it's in Connecticut." And then the guard said, "Well, where's the one in New York?" And Paul looked at him and said, "There's not one." He said, "Have a nice day. Enjoy your golf."
Mr. Malone is, okay, you can hold off. You got another gentleman here. Come on, sir. Or if you want, I can hand you the microphone back there.
I can tell this little story from right here. I asked Paul one time, I said, I said, why Arkansas? I said, you obviously come from Iowa. You got family there. You had a good education. Why Arkansas? He said, Irv, he said, it was the winters. He said, I hate cold weather. And this is as far north as I ever intend to go. And I could always aggravate him a little bit, you know. I was in the Army, so, you know,
That's okay, we understand.
we had a little bit. Anyway, I'd always say, Paul, you've been submerged way too long.
Going once? Okay, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joe for the last time for benediction and dismissal.
Well, I'd say one thing. I didn't live too far from Paul. I lived in Jacksonville. And one of the things that he would text me quite often with Bible questions. And we would get in some good discussions. And he'd always end it with saying, well, we'll leave it there. And he said, I got some thinking to do. And but it's going to be something not being able to get those texts, because usually I got them at the wrong time of the night or the evening when my wife and I had something else planned to go on. And so I'd always say, I got to answer this text from Paul. Got to answer this. So if you would stand with me as we pray and be dismissed. May the Lord bless thee and keep thee.